welcome back to Bold and Body.
Hey.
This is Lena D, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hey, it's Maddie.
Hey, it's Wesley. I got an announcement for you guys. It's not special at all.
Not at all.
Just really not.
Formalities.
It's just formalities. As you guys know, we've moved on from No Free Drinks, and now we are Bold and Body. So with that said, there is a website. Go to www.boldandbody.com to hear all our episodes, past and future, as well as some tips about, well, not so much tips, but stuff about who we are, the past episodes, and we have like a good sorting list, and subscribe to our newsletter, which we want you guys to subscribe to. There's a little Instagram feed on the bottom, all that cool shit. So visit boldandbody.com. I was about to say Vold. What the hell? Like Vogue.
Bold.
Boldandbody.com.
Give it together.
Check it out. Bold and Body.
Bold and Body.
.com. So, to get started on this week's episode, we're actually going to be talking about cohabitation. And so, just to define it for everyone, because it is not a roommate situation,
Like some people thought.
Yeah.
as Wesley initially thought.
Yeah, Maddie.
This is why I stay quoting Webster, and this is why we always have a dictionary on deck. Because clearly some people don't understand just basic standard words.
Sometimes they just get their own definitions.
Yeah.
You just made shit up.
It's just like history. Some people do that with history, too.
I don't know about that.
Oh, you mean how like all the Native Americans moved across the country by themselves voluntarily,
Nah,
and there was no Trail of Tears? How
Nah,
people
that's-
just misremember shit?
Yeah, that's
is that what
fucked
you
up.
did?
Wait, what?
You just made up shit that fit what you thought it should be?
No, not really.
Right.
I mean, that's what Trump does every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Every single
So, yeah,
fucking
try
The
to
entire
compare me-
Republican Party.
Yeah,
We're trying to
compare
say
me
you're a
Trump.
Republican. Wesley's a Republican.
Look,
he voted for
two
Trump.
Episode 2 ago, we discussed that Maddie, I need to get out her DM, said that she was voting for Trump, and she voted for Trump.
I never
in the last
said that.
Like, yes, she did.
I never said
We
that.
confirmed all that.
No,
But
that
get
fake
her DMs
news.
on.
Fake
Like-
news.
You're on your Kellyanne Conway bullshit. Anyway,
have
according
said.
to Webster, Lena D.
So, according to Webster, cohabitation is basically a situation in which the couple chooses to live together and have a sexual relationship.
Hey.
So, you living together
Ew.
and you fucking. It's basically what cohabitation is.
Wow.
And,
The key is that you fucking.
yeah, you're fucking without papers, though, because you're not legally bound.
Wow.
But
In other words, everything Maddie's not doing.
Wow.
so, Wesley and I are in a cohabitation situationship thing.
Wow, that sounds complicated.
That really does sound mad complicated. Cohabitation ship? All right.
But it is a thing. And, you know, people have different reasons for why they do it. And there are also different points of view regarding cohabitation. So we wanted to talk about all of those. And, you know, really, there's even data that kind of encompasses the spectrum of cohabitation being a positive thing in a relationship, and in other cases, and where cohabitation is a detrimental thing.
Right.
So we were going to talk about that, all those different views. But before we dove into the nitty gritty, I actually wanted us to all take a step into our history, our own personal histories, and talk about how our parents raised us to think about cohabitation and compare that to how we actually think about cohabitation today.
Mhm.
And so then this one was like a fun one for me a little bit, because I didn't realize how hammered into my head my parents tried to make cohabitation basically represent this very bad situation, like that no good person would ever choose to be cohabitating with someone before they were actually married.
Oh, damn.
And so with my mom, it was never a question that, like, even if you were having sex before you were married, you were a heathen. And so I've obviously
You're burning in hell.
living with a boyfriend was like completely not something to be considered. Like, why is that even an option in life?
Mhm.
So that was kind of my mom. My dad really didn't have very vocal opinions about it as she did, but there were these subtle things and like subtle jabs that would be said about cousins or other people that we managed to meet that were cohabitating and weren't married. But there was also like this kind of dual path thing. Like if you were cohabitating and you didn't have kids, you were better than the people that were cohabitating and had kids.
Yo, there's levels to this shit.
So there's levels to it. So it was like, even if you were cohabitating, it was bad because you're not married and you're having sex and you're living with someone of the opposite sex without being like legally married or married by the church, which was like more of like the religious piece behind it. And if you were in that situation but didn't have kids, it was slightly better because you hadn't had you at least had the common sense not to bring kids into that type of situation. So that's
crazy.
Yo, man.
So that point of view of it was like really interesting because they would, obviously there was the element of judgment, but then there was also different vocabulary that was used to describe those people that were together. So obviously in Spanish, like a husband is esposo and a wife is esposa. But whenever they talked about somebody that was just living with their significant other, if it was a man, it would be the marido, which is
that just sounds rude and disrespectful.
Really rude. I'm walking away.
It's like, so a marido is basically your boyfriend that you live with, but you don't got papers. So if you don't get like the designation of esposo unless you're actually married. Mm-hmm. And so then even for the women, it's even more disrespectful. So it's not, even though you might be thinking, oh, is it marida? No, it's not marida. It's actually mujer. So a woman would be the woman.
That's yo.
So quick sidebar. My ex used to do this thing where he would call me woman whenever he like was annoyed with me or if I was just getting on his nerves or something, right? And it just, nobody understands how much it drives me crazy whenever I hear a guy call somebody woman. So to hear that is just like, I feel that disrespect in my soul, like in my soul. I wish you would just call me woman.
It'd be like, but it would be la mujer or su mujer. So it became the
say
woman.
It to my face. Let's go.
The woman is the property of that guy because they're living together, but they're not married.
Yeah, nah. I'm not with it.
So
say that shit to my face.
Bruh.
So yeah, so like this. So I didn't realize that there was so many layers to this. Like it was like somewhat embedded in my brain. And then but it was so easy for me to choose to be cohabitate with Wesley. I didn't go through like this
existential crisis,
like this crisis of like, oh my god, how was I raised?
I don't want to be the woman.
I don't want to be the woman. La mujer. It'd be like Wesley's mujer.
Oh, wow. I don't know about all that.
Nah.
But so that's how like deep rooted this whole concept of cohabitation bad was, at least for me growing up. So culturally, as a Latina, Salvadoreña, like that's just how my parents thought about it. And what was really interesting, even as I took a step back and thought about it, it was like, well, I obviously didn't think cohabitation was bad because I did it. And it was a very easy decision for me to make. But there are elements of that entire sort of like description that I just gave, a story of the background of like my upbringing, that have stuck with me. So I will never consider having a child if I'm just cohabitating with someone. Like that is out of the question.
I dig it. Okay.
And so I view bringing children into the world as having to be done under like a marriage, like an actual family. So, or at least marriage by papers and legal stuff. So for me, that piece of it is that important stuck. To be legal. Yeah, okay. That did stick with me. So,
but everything else, you're like, man, fuck you guys.
Yeah, the other stuff, I was just like, what? I was like, and I used to be like, oh, like I hate that word. Like whenever they said marido or su mujer, I was like, oh, that sounds terrible. Like I don't like how this sounds. It just almost like made those people less human because they were living. It
feels demeaning.
Yeah,
because even your tone changes as you say it. So it's like it's meant to be demeaning and hurtful.
It's almost
rude.
like, oh, like we look down on you. Like from a societal point of view, like we look down on you. So we're going to use a different word. And the other, so then there was a third word.
The fuck? Y'all just got too much
words.
time.
Y'all
got too much time.
Yeah, that's a lot of words.
But then there was another one.
That one's not bad
worse.
enough. We need a worse one.
No, but there is
Level
a
up on
worse
this
one.
shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
There is a worse one. So
What?
like, obviously if you're in a relationship, like, that's your novio or your novia. And so then it was mostly for the dudes, but like for the women, I think it just went back to mujer, which is already offensive enough. But for the dudes, there's another term that's called amarinovio. So basically it sounds even worse than marido because you're implying that, okay, you guys say that you're in a relationship, but we know that you're fucking. Because marido is like basically when you're sexually active with your partner versus novio is supposed to mean that you're, chaste and stuff and being celibate and all that crap. So yeah. So
all that crap. Legit, Lena D just said everything that I am is crap. I just want y'all to make sure that you caught that. Celibate
like
and chaste is all that crap.
all that stuff. Whatever I'm missing under that umbrella.
Whatever.
I don't even have words for the first time. I'm just taking it all in, and yeah, this all sounds bad, by the way.
And
So-
I think
Yeah.
it's not.
She don't got words either.
No.
Maddie
It's
don't
just
got
like
words.
as Haitians, I don't think we go through that level of naming it.
No.
And maybe it's because on some level, it's more understood in the culture.
Yeah,
Like
pretty much.
it's not. I'm not gonna say like it's suggested or recommended, or it's just like held up on this pedestal to be cohabitating. But it's kind of like it's brushed under the rug more so in the Haitian culture, where it's just like, oh yeah, they're doing their thing, like
So
they're
there's
just
more
shacking
respect
up.
for it. Whereas
Yeah, because normally it's done out of need, out of convenience. It's just like someone's going to be like a side piece. It's usually like a side piece situation. Like he's taking care of you, or like you're helping him out, or whatever the case might be. So living situations tended to be different in Haiti. But at the same time, if you were cohabitating, just made you not a respectful person or respectable person, if that makes sense. It wasn't like you weren't going to be stoned in the streets or anything. Like people wasn't going to talk about you to your face or anything. But at the same time, you wouldn't be taking that seriously.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So it's more of like
It's like an
backhand
accepted
kind
thing.
of like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like call you out about it, but
But
in
at
the
the
back
same,
of my head I am.
yeah, like, oh yeah, she got a boyfriend. She's with that guy, and that's it. It's like there's no going any deeper than that. It's just like, yeah, they living together. They're shacking up. Oh, he's still with that girl, or she's still with that dude. But that's it. Like there's no need to tear somebody down for something like that. But again, it's like the preference is always towards marriage. And to be in a committed relationship under the umbrella of the church and legal marriage.
Oh, I was about to say.
So at least that's how.
Yeah, no.
And then I think
Totally
it
true.
I don't even think it would be that different, like in terms of how, because in the Haitian culture, it's very different how they raise guys versus girls.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
not. When it
But
comes
in
to
this
that,
one,
it's not
yeah,
different.
it's the
not
same.
different. That's the same.
So it's both
So we
men,
both get
women,
shade.
Or like,
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, of course.
Okay.
We both
Most
get
definitely.
shade on the same level,
Yeah.
but we're also not like freaking thrown to the wolves and disowned from the
Yeah,
family.
no, that just doesn't happen. Like, it's just like, yeah, there's some shame involved, but I don't recall growing up hearing about being disowned for living with somebody.
Because I feel like it's because it happens so regularly.
Right.
Even with the people that are just like, the respectable church going folk. You'd be like, yeah, she living with somebody or he living with somebody. It's like,
Yeah.
they doing their thing.
Yeah,
but
let
I'm not
them-
going to knock them because it's probably about not paying rent in two places or like reducing their expenses because it's a struggle. Times is hard. So I'm not going to knock them for that.
Right.
It's really how it's looked at. But yeah, I know. I don't think, just with my mom in particular, cohabitation was never an option. But even if she was okay with it, personally, I've never been and probably will never be a fan of cohabitation for myself. And again, that comes from our culture where it's just like, you do you, live your life. I don't care.
Well, I'm
gonna pay your bills. You don't pay my bills. So you do what you got to do. But I wouldn't be down to.
Well, I will say this though, like I actually feel the same way you do, because the way
he's cohabitating.
Yeah, no, for real. I know, right? But I'm gonna tell you like a little history. Like the way that it happened was so like
she just moved in one day. I didn't know what happened.
No, not even. It was actually the reverse.
It was the other way around.
The other way around. So the way that it happened was just such a roundabout way. Like when even when we're talking about this right now, I'm just like, wow. It wasn't like official. Like, oh yeah,
we should move in together.
We should just move. No, it wasn't like that. It was Lena D had graduated from school. I think I had a year or two left or whatever, and I ended up getting an internship at Procter and Gamble. As I was at Procter & Gamble, I'm like, hey, can I stay with you for 3 months or whatever, the length of the intern? I'll chip in, I'll pay like bills and stuff, no big deal, right? Not really still thinking like, I'm not gonna, this is not me living with you. This is just me, like, we just doing the short-term thing and that's it. Right. But it evolved into something more longer term.
So according to Webster, you have to be having sex. Were you guys having sex?
I know,
sex
yeah, we're having sex, yeah. I know we're having sex.
Sounds like you're in denial.
So. Yeah, no, I was in denial. But then, like,
it was gradual. Right. It doesn't count yet.
But then I got a job out there, and it was just like, okay, well, I got to move in, and I just asked. I was like, hey, do you mind if we live together? Blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, sure. But this was after like 2 years after the internship had gone down, and then the year after had gone. Like it was more so like gradual ish. It wasn't meant to be that way on my side. It just happened to go that way. It was more of a gradual thing rather than, hey, I just want to like live with you. That's it. You ain't got no choice.
Now, I don't know about other people, but I don't think that's how it usually goes. I don't think it's normally, hey, I want to live with you. Let's do this.
I know that some people have actually planned it though. Like they've asked, like they've made it a thing like, oh, we should move in together or
right.
something like
and that honestly,
that's what I'm saying. A discussion, not just him showing up to your door like, hey, I'm gonna move in. And you'd be like, I guess. Like, normally there's some planning around it.
Right. But I think in my case though, I wasn't expecting to get the job and I got it and it was just like, holy shit.
What do I do now?
Fuck. Okay. Oh, okay. Now I gotta ask a question. But yeah, I don't know how it goes for like for other couples, but I mean, maybe my story sounds a lot familiar to a lot of the guys out there who are cohabitating, but it was kind of something that just kind of evolved naturally, and it was a natural thing. It wasn't something that was just, hey, can I stay with you for a couple months? I can't pay rent in my apartment. It's not some bullshit like that where like it's some life altering decision that had to be made or something to that effect. It was just, hey, I'm working here. Can I stay with you?
Yeah, it wasn't like a discussion of right. Oh, we should live together.
We should live together. Nah.
I mean, obviously we knew we were in a long distance relationship.
Right.
We wanted to alleviate that, but like I think there were options of like, okay, there could be the potential that you move here, but it could also be something else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so there was never like, okay, this is a plan. Like,
that's the plan. That's it. Yeah. It wasn't anything like that.
Or even when I was looking for a spot, like I would find the places I liked and then be like, oh, look, do you think these are cute? But like more because I wanted another opinion.
Exactly.
But it's not like I was like, oh, like I'm looking at all of these places.
For us.
For us.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, it was always very much, it's going to be my place, but we were together.
It's my place. You get in when
have the top drawer.
Yeah, it's my place. You get in when you fit in.
Wesley's like, there's only one closet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough space for my stuff. I don't know what you're going to do.
You know what?
Space bags are pretty good, though.
Lena D is laughing right now because to this day, actually yesterday, we were cleaning out the closet and shit, or we're cleaning up. I was like, yo, you got an 12 drawer stack over here. You got most of the closet. Yo, I just want the drawer that's under the bed right now.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And that was like a big thing.
A third of the drawer.
Yeah, a third of the drawer. I'm like, wait, you got all this extra shit. Like, I just want the drawer. That's it. That's all I care about.
But he did get a third of the drawer, which I was not going to get.
She says it like she made this huge concession for you. Like, look how giving I am. You got a third of the drawer. Damn. I'd also like to point out to our listeners, they didn't just move in together.
Nah.
This isn't new.
Nah.
What he's talking about was at least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and it's still like this.
Yeah.
Sir, I need you to fight for your closet space.
I'm starting to fight. I was like, you need to get your stuff out of here. No, I'm sorry.
Damn.
I need some of the space back.
Reclaiming
Or
closet
like
space.
what'll happen is that like she'll like slowly encroach into my space, and I'm like, I don't like this. You're in my territory. You need to back up.
This is all the reasons why I can't do it, because I know I'm petty as fuck.
What?
And let his stuff be on my side. It's like, yo, Maddie, why is my stuff on the floor? Because it was on the wrong side. Sir, I was just helping you out so you can put it where it belongs. Thanks.
I do that too, though. It's like, hey, your stuff is over here.
Why your stuff is everywhere?
But your stuff everywhere though. Like,
Oh, man. Okay, but moving on. So I think your story, based on the people that I know that are in cohabitating situationships, whatever y'all call it,
We just live together.
that's normally how it goes. Every once in a while you hear this one case where it's just like, oh yeah, she needed somewhere to stay because she was going through a hard time,
right? And
it's like temporarily,
right?
And very rarely does that become a, we've been living together for the past 35 years. Like, nah. Normally it's either gradual or it's just like, hey, it just makes more sense for us to live here because you're always here or I'm always there.
Right.
And why are we paying rent for 2 studio apartments for like whatever New York City rent is at this point in time?
Man,
it's disgusting.
It's disgusting. I really want to tell the price though, but that's a different story.
No,
we're not getting into that.
We're not getting into that though.
Y'all can look it up on Zillow or any of these real estate sites. But normally that's how it goes. But I know we did look up some trends around other cohabitating people, couples.
It's interesting because, I mean, I guess it's not that interesting now because I've been cohabitating with someone for over 10 years, or 10 years or so. But I guess there was subconsciously or not being fully aware of it because it is sort of my living arrangement and I've never second guessed my living arrangement. I know that there's people that go back and forth about like, should I do this or should I do that? But there kind of are these stats overall that actually show that there's been overall increasing cohabitation taking place. And if you look at the stat today versus the stat from like half a century ago, back then only 1 in 10 parents were cohabitating with someone when they are unmarried and with children. So this is more around like the children's stat. And now there's 1 in 4 parents that are cohabitating without being married and with children. So if you think about that, it's like 7% to like 25%.
It's crazy.
So, and that's only within like 50 years. And if you think about that along with the overall ongoing trends with marriage, we already know that less Americans are getting married. And it's also now more common for people that are unmarried to have kids together.
Wow.
And so even to give you another sort of like birth sort of thing, in 1970, there were 26 births per 1,000 unmarried women. And then now in 2016, it's 42 births per 1,000 unmarried women. So the whole cohabitation plus kids, which for me, like I said before, is completely like not even an option.
Cohabitation and co-parenting.
Well, cohabitation with children, because I mean, if you're living like co-parenting is defined as like when you're in separate homes.
I'm sorry,
your
man.
birthday present is going to be a dictionary.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm all off today. I came back from work. I'm tired. So and it's hot as fuck out here. So
it's parents living together that are unmarried having children. So that's an increasing trend, which I actually didn't know. Like I still assumed that babies were like born into
wow.
into like married relationships.
Compared to my definition thing? Are you serious right now? Y'all get on me about the definition thing?
On some real shit? What rock have you been living under?
Oh, I guess I just don't pay attention to that.
Y'all get on me about my definition of co-parenting right now. And
like,
now
I thought the baby still came from the stork, and the stork only goes to married couples.
The stork only went to married couples. Exactly.
Wow, I'm done.
So that was a little like, it was really like, oh shit, like it's really all these babies being born out of wedlock. That's a lot of babies.
Yo, I don't even know what to say at this point right now.
This shit is funny as fuck.
This episode's been
like,
this episode's been very.
Know.
Really did.
I had no idea.
The words have been taken right out of my mouth. As I eat gummy bears. Okay.
And so just to prove how wrong I was in my perception,
wow,
birth rates for married women have declined from 121 births per 1,000 to 90 per 1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have been living under a rock when it came to this. It's probably just because I'm not into having babies like that right now in my point in life, so I don't really care where the other babies come from.
Yeah, neither am I.
She's like, I only care where my baby's going to come from. Screw these other babies.
I don't care about them other babies.
Wow, can we stop?
So, what I actually found that I found interesting, it's society tries to make it seem like it's more of a young thing. Like it's our generation, people in their like 30s, 40s, younger than that are the ones that are cohabitating. And it did find, one study from Pew Research found that roughly half of cohabitators are younger than 35. That's half of them. So that means the other half is over 35. That means that they're grown as fuck. These are like,
real adults.
Yes, these are real adults. These aren't people just trying to figure it out or anything like that. These are adults. These are grown-ups. These are your parents, your aunties, your uncles, all of that. And since 2007, the number of cohabitating adults aged 50 and older grew by 75%.
Oh, man.
75%.
That's a lot.
Like, since 2007, that's barely 11 years ago.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I say that just because I don't know what month this was done in. And we're
sunset years of your life, man. You're just chilling.
Pretty much. It's just like, and when you consider the fact that, you know, a lot of people at this age are divorcees now. Yeah. So it's just like, they don't want to be married again. It's like, I've done that. I've been there. I don't want to go through this again. Yeah. It was whack the first time.
Right.
Let's just shack up and see how it goes.
You know, it's funny you say that, right? We just came from a wedding and I was with my boy's mom. And then she's cohabitating with her living boyfriend. And she was just like, you know, she was looking through the marriage. She was looking through my friend's marriage. She was just like, you know, this is a nice marriage and all, but I never want to do this again because she divorcee herself.
See? and
she's 49 years old.
Boom. She's right, almost there.
She's part of these people.
Yeah.
But it's like, it makes sense when you really start to think about it. But my favorite trend amongst all of this is that cohabitators still make up relatively small portions of every age group. It seems like everyone and their mama's shacking up, but that's not the case. What was it? Particularly among adults aged 50 and older, in total, 7% of U.S. adults are cohabitating in 2016. Only 7%.
7%.
So unless all of your friends are just cohabitating, there really aren't that many people.
Wait, 7% of adults 50 and over, or all age groups?
All age groups in total.
See, so my living under a rock is actually kind of true. Unless 7% are having all the kids, that don't make no sense.
Yeah, it does. Because they fucking.
Oh, yeah, because when you get married, you stop fucking, right? That's how it works?
We also just said that the amount of married women having children has gone down significantly. So.
Yo.
Clearly.
All these stats are like fake news or something. Because like some of these.
Wow. I'm so done now.
No, but you have to consider just how many people that really is.
No, it's true.
So it's like that's how many are shacking up that are honestly willing to tell people that they shacking up. Because there's also that. It's just like, oh, no, that's my roommate. Y'all fucking cohabitating. Stop living a lie, baby girl. Like, this is the truth. But there's just... And then you have a lot of singles. People that just don't want somebody else in their space. Mm-hmm. People that are just like, I don't want to live with you like me until you put a ring on this. Yeah. Until then, you live wherever the fuck it is that you live. And I'm going to be here. And we're going to make it work.
Well, I got a question though, right?
Go for it.
About that. More specifically to you. So you don't think that cohabitation would have some advantages and stuff in terms of like getting used to living with the person? Because people got bad habits, yo. And they have the best of intentions, but I'm just saying. And I'm not just saying like you're perfect or anybody's perfect, but you may want to get used to some of that stuff before y'all get together for real.
Till we get together for real.
Well, when I say for real, I mean marriage, guys. That's what that means. I'm sorry. I'm using slang.
So, I guess for me personally, it's twofold. Because I'm celibate, right, and I intend to remain that way for at least a while.
Right.
And by a while, I mean until I'm married.
Right.
If I'm living with someone, the likelihood of us being able to live in the same place, share space, and not have sex, where they do that at? Like, it's very unlikely to me because I know myself.
So
there's one aspect of it.
All right. So you're just trying to, for yourself, to reduce the temptation,
pretty much,
of a sexual encounter.
That's one aspect of it.
Okay.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really does. See, I'm getting all this insight that I'm just like, wow, like I didn't really think about it like that.
Yeah. So that's one part of it. The other part is, and I think we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but it's also just from a religious standpoint.
Okay.
Where I don't feel like I should be sharing a space with someone until we're bound by the unity of marriage and this man has said I do.
Okay.
Because there are those trends that show couples that are living together are less likely to be married.
In the long run, you mean?
Yeah. In the long run. Because you're already playing house. And you're less committed. It's just like, why am I actually going to put a ring on it? Why am I actually going to try to commit to you if I'm already getting all the perks of married life?
I mean, I plan on putting a ring on it, but I'm just saying that's me though.
I'm just saying, though. Yeah, it's different though. Like,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
but those are like my reasons, where it's just like religious, the actual aspect of or the prospect of getting married,
right?
I feel is reduced or delayed. I'm not going to say that people that are cohabitate don't get married ever, but I think it's easier to delay it because you're just like, the fuck.
All right, let me throw a wrench in the.
I'm just looking at y'all because it's just like ain't no rush.
I mean,
but that's always
different reason.
Yeah, no,
for me it's for a different reason, and I just said I don't want to have kids right now. So why am I going to get married?
Yeah,
so, like it's a very different way of how I've internalized my upbringing, as I clearly described before.
Yeah, like it. Depending on how you view relationships, like it just. Yeah, it's just not for me.
All right, let me throw a wrench in your whole stuff right now.
You ain't throwing no wrench in nothing because you're not changing my mind.
No, it's not. It had nothing to do with all that. It's more of on the religious aspect, but still has something to do with cohabitation. Let's say you find a man, you're a good Christian black woman, life is good.
Who told you I was black? I'm just joking.
Man, you need to stop. I'm joking. Yeah.
Yo, our listeners like, she's not black.
Maddie is not black.
She's not black. Whoa. What does the avatar say?
Who said I'm a woman? Let me stop.
So, good Christian black woman, headstrong. You meet great man, has all the values that you have, but he's Arab.
He's
what you doing now? He's Arab. He's an Arab man.
Okay.
Doesn't have the same religious beliefs that you do.
Okay.
What happens then? Same thing?
Yeah.
In terms of like how it, because the culture is different. That's
But
what I mean when I say that.
even in that culture, they're not going to live together before they're married.
Makes sense.
Did you just pull up some random whatever like
just
culture
whatever.
popped in your head? It was just like, he's Arab. Yeah, let's go with that one.
Let's go with that.
No, because this is one of my values where I don't believe in it.
I got you.
So he's gonna have to respect that. And if he don't,
It's not the right person.
The door.
Like,
by the way, I got two thumbs up.
Hey, don't you like throwing people out too?
hold up, this is very different how I throw people out.
Nah. Maddie like throwing people out. She just don't like saying it in public. I've definitely seen you throw some people out.
My
before.
approach is just different.
Nah, that's messed up. Nah, you.
And my reasoning tends to be different.
No,
It's usually not related to the size of a penis.
No. That is true. I can attest to that.
I mean,
Like,
different people, different standards.
You can't defend yourself.
She once tried to
defensible.
I would tell like a little mini story. Maddie once tried to throw me out because we were playing Super Nintendo, and myself and Maddie, we love this game, Super Mario Brothers. It came with the Super Nintendo. That's like
the only game we had.
The only game we had, but the shit was fire anyway, so we played over and over again.
Wait. Sidebar, we had Duck Hunter, but my mom wouldn't get us the gun.
Nah, she wouldn't get us the gun, yeah.
So it was just
Super Mario Brothers. At one point, with these games, you have to wait till the person's died. So when Mario dies, that's when Luigi gets to come in and switch up and
of course,
play.
this motherfucker always had me as Luigi.
And I always had a Luigi.
That's what older cousins do.
But I was Mario, so I whooped the game's ass the whole time. She'd be like, you know what? She went in, she took that, she went to the thing. She was like, if you don't let me play, I'm gonna hit the reset button. I'm like, well, I'm not letting you play because I didn't lose yet. Click.
I was born petty.
I want to be Mario now.
Yes, I was born petty. I don't care.
I was like, no, that was like 2 hours worth of game time. That's just gone.
Yeah, but you got to sit in there for 2 hours. You deserve that shit.
Wouldn't even just hand me off the remote or anything. Mind you, this was at my place with my system. Okay.
You're rude as fuck.
And then he would do the same thing when we were at his place.
Oh, yeah,
because he had a Sega Genesis.
I had a Sega. Yeah, like, it was Sonic, though.
And, of course, I was Tails. Couldn't do shit. Anyway, back to what we were talking about.
I love that story time, though. That was awesome.
He was disrespectful.
All right, back to what we're talking about. A little sidebar.
So, I mean, at the end of, so like, I love this because it's like we all have different views about cohabitation. And so, like, whether it's really bad or not. And so, to Maddie's point around, like, hey, there are studies or there is a lot of either anecdotal or evidence or whatever that people that are cohabitating are less likely to get married in the long run because of this, like, sort of level of comfort.
Mm-hmm.
And from, I think, people that think of cohabitation as, like, from a more, like, religious lens and how they think about it. And, like, obviously also the union, like you brought up, like, the whole, the fact that for you, that your value is that you don't want to share, like, your home or share who you're living with until you're actually bound by, like, the union of marriage under God's eye or whoever blesses the marriage.
Yeah.
Because it might be different for other religions.
We're trying to be inclusive, guys.
Yes. So there is also, like, another view around, well, we also took a look at updated data. So they did, like, a separate study because I think the one that the study that refers to cohabitation being, like, a bad thing or that it's going to derail, like, if you're actually looking to get married to that person, it might actually derail that goal. There was a study that was conducted It was featured in the Journal of Marriage and Family, and it talked about the comparison of a lot of that previous data that showed that cohabitation was bad for people that actually wanted to get married, and it was going to deter you from your course of wanting to get married, and found that actually cohabitation does have some positive effects if you think about it. And it also depends on like a couple of different factors. So they found some additional information that would suggest that initial studies that showed cohabitation was completely bad. Cohabitation alone isn't the only reason why either people don't get married or end up getting divorced if they do get married.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was interesting because it talked about the whole concept of divorce and when people move in with someone with or without the marriage license. So this study actually looked at some of the reasons for divorce, and what they found is that it's not necessarily whether you cohabitated or didn't cohabitate and after you got married you got divorced. Like cohabitation was not like one of the items that was listed, but a lot of people talked about how it was more related to level of maturity and their sort of experience engaging whether or not they were marrying the most compatible partner they could find, and that when there was a lack of compatibility longer term, or if people just didn't act in a mature way, like they're married but they're still cheating on people, that kind of stuff, that's what actually led to more of, like, those were the causes for divorce. It wasn't the fact that they had lived together before. And so then there were some other sort of like studies and facts that were put in, and there was this economist by the name of Evelyn Lehrer. I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Let's go with that.
But and so she was actually stating that the longer you wait past the age of 23, the more likely your marriage will work out. And so it's going back to the maturity piece of it. And her analysis actually showed that for every year a woman waited to get married up into her 30s, she actually reduced her chances of divorce. And so that was like, yeah, okay, well, that's cool. And there's some other data, too, that said that 70% of women who are between the ages of 30 and 34 had at least lived with a boyfriend, and they were educated and wealthy. So there's also sort of a misnomer around that women who choose to cohabitate do it because they're less educated and have less access to money, which is why they're cohabitating, because they want to have help with like offsetting their costs. Mm-hmm. And so then this study actually looked and said, well, no, not necessarily. Like there are women who are educated and wealthy that choose to cohabitate. And when they do get married later in life or in their 30s, then they're more likely to have a successful marriage, even if they did cohabitate before. Okay. So all that stuff was really interesting. And so there was a part of the same study actually looked at, I guess, like danger, like situations, and like tested like brain waves between like the couples that were cohabitating and the couples that were married. And so the couples that were married showed like emotionally that they were like that they felt a better sense of security because they were holding the hand of like who they were married to. And when the people that were holding hands that were cohabitating but not married, there wasn't that same level of security like in the brain waves and the brain activity and stuff. So what this study did say, it was like, okay, well, cohabitation isn't going to lead to an ultimate divorce, but marriage does provide a better sense of security because there is more stability from like legal, whatever, like whatever, like the values and like the importance of having an actual union that's defined and blessed or sanctioned by a governing body, or whether that's religious or societal. So I thought that piece was interesting, is that even though you're in a relationship with someone, like marriage does end up adding another layer of security. And so that was what this study found. So I thought that was interesting.
And that is actually one of the key things that that you'll find in studies that are against cohabitation, especially from a religious standpoint, is that last point right there. It's not necessarily saying that cohabitation in and of itself is bad. It's the thought process and the expectations of the individuals that are doing it. Sure. So if you're going into it saying we're doing this to prepare for marriage.
Right.
We're already engaged or we're already on that wavelength, then yeah, you have a better chance because you already have that shared commitment to the relationship. But in the cases, and in most cases that you find, it's just we fell into it. It's a matter of convenience. We're just doing it. We're going to see how this goes. It's in those situations that you find like it doesn't work as well, and that either marriage doesn't come up, or if the couple does get married, that they end in divorce.
Right.
So it's funny that there are two studies pretty much on opposite ends of the spectrum that are finding exactly the same outcome or the same solution. It's how you're entering into this. So now, of course, being religious, they're just like, just don't do the shit.
Right.
Just don't do it because there's more risk associated with it.
Right.
Like, you're more likely to get burned. You're more likely to be committed, think that you're in something that's going to lead to this like wonderful marriage, and then your feelings get hurt. Yeah, and now you're turning to God like, God, why did this happen to me? God's like, I didn't tell you to do this shit.
It's like, well, the Bible had said.
Well, obviously.
You told me you would send me the one. I didn't say he was the one. Like, you took that upon yourself.
Yeah.
But like most of the studies that I have looked at and articles I've read, and even the books that I've read, they always pretty much say just don't do it just for that reason. Like, you don't know if this person or even yourself are still going to be committed in the same way. But when you're married, if you do this, you like build this life together after you're married, you already know that you're in it to win it. You already know, like, we're not breaking up. Like, I'm not leaving because we had one fight. I'm not going to leave because you snore or you have some bad habit that gets on my nerves. But if we're just living together, it's easier for me to be like, yo, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm so tired of this.
You're snoring. I can't
You chew with your mouth open. It's disgusting. Like, no. You clip your toenails, like, on the, like, nah. But if we're married, it's going to be like, okay, look, I said I do. What I'm not going to do is this. We going to work this out. But there's that commitment that's there. And I think, personally, like, that's what I would like.
Yeah.
Right.
And then just having seen people around me where their relationships fail.
Right.
Y'all are probably one of the few people that I know that have lived together before being married that are still together this long.
Oh.
Your cohabitation has lasted longer than some marriages that I've witnessed.
I made a list of like marriages like
that you've been to.
That been through. Yeah.
And you're just like, damn, they're divorced. They're divorced. Shit, they're divorced.
Yeah, man. And I think it goes back to, so I think what's like smart about from a religious angle is like, don't even risk it. Like, you don't know the other person's maturity level. Like, you might be mature enough, but like, do you know if they're really mature enough?
Or you might think you're mature enough, and then you start living with this person. You're like, yo, you're not.
So I think that at least what I like about, even though I'm not very religious, what I like about how it's being talked about, it's not, you know, the devil is inside you or anything like that, or like you're not. It's more around like,
I'm like, whoa,
no,
yeah. Did I not tell you the story of like how I'm raised?
Okay,
clearly, that's what they were telling her.
But it's more around like, well, it's for your own security or what you're looking to get out of it.
Exactly, it's more practical, and it's. If you're saying like, this is my commitment and this is how I'm committing myself to God, it's easier to stay on that path if you're not putting yourself in temptation's way.
Right.
I'm not going to fuck someone if we only see each other like in a public, because we could still get it in. Never mind.
Wow.
Actually,
I'm less likely. You're less likely, okay, to do that versus if we're like sleeping in the same bed every night. Yeah. Like, for real, I'm gonna be celibate while I'm sleeping next to this man every single night.
Yeah,
it's like you wake up and he's sticking you,
and it's like, no,
sticking you.
Yeah,
get thee behind me, Satan.
Morning
no,
wood.
It's not happening. It's gonna be like,
you're like, oh, okay.
What up?
What's up?
I'm just saying, like,
oh man,
let's be for real. So, Yeah, I think that's one of the few times that I appreciate Christianity where it's not all fire, brimstone, you're going to burn in hell. If you do this, it's more like
and the
practically
devil is
speaking.
you.
Yeah, the devil is inside you. It's like it's a matter of practicality. It's a matter of staying true to what you believe and finding ways to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig that.
So that is this week's episode. Open to hearing experiences and thoughts for and against cohabitation from our audience.
Yeah.
And I hope that at least you've been able to get a little bit of different perspectives. If you're 100% against cohabitation, but can at least see that there are other options. And then if you're like for cohabitation and you're kind of thinking about like, oh, well, is this going to decrease my chances of getting married to that person? Then you should probably be having a very different conversation instead of moving in together.
Word.
So,
he is not going to put a ring on it just because y'all live together.
Yeah, that's not how that works. So that was it.
That was it. And remember, go to boldenbody.com and subscribe, goddammit.
Oh, wow. I told you I was a threat.
Threatening live.
I'm threatening all y'all. All right.
I'm not
either. So if you don't want to listen to him, you don't have to.
But you can follow us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Definitely. You could slide into Lena D's DMs. You could send her them dick pics.
No.
Wow.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Wow.
I'm not
I mean, you can go ahead and do it. Just know that Wesley's going to be looking at them too.
Ew. You don't want me looking at them. Because you know what I'll do? I'll like send them right back to you. All right. Peace out, Girl Scouts.
Bye.
Later.